Well, welcome once again. This is the Doctor of Digital podcast. The purpose of the show is to transform your business and life with education and inspiration. I introduce busy business leaders to trends in business, technology, and marketing to highlight people you should know. Are you feeling overwhelmed by today's fast-paced business world? Do you crave success but worry about getting left behind the technological wave? Consider the title of my guest book, The Unfair Advantage: How Small Business Owners Can Use Artificial Intelligence. AI is currently a combination of affordability and ease of use, which means that small businesses can now compete on a more level playing field with larger companies. My guest today is a powerhouse entrepreneur, prolific author, and speaker who isn't afraid to delve into complex topics, from navigating artificial intelligence for business growth to fostering respectful dialogue across political divides. My guest has a unique perspective informed by his background in business, religion, and personal experience. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, my guest has wisdom to share on securing your future and achieving your dreams. So get ready to be surprised, challenged, and maybe even a little inspired by my special guest. During this episode, we'll do a deep dive into the changes and hot topics of building AI for small businesses. We will leverage the expertise of my guest and how to navigate the unique dynamics of the field. By the end of this episode, you'll be better equipped to know what to do, and I encourage you to contact my guest, Philip Blackett, investor and growth advisor who helped 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses grow their sales, profit, and exit value through dream business makeovers powered by artificial intelligence. With that, I want to welcome Philip to this program. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Mick. Thank you so much for having me on here.
You bet. So, when we first met, I'm going to tell you, I'd like to know a little bit about your background, but I don't even know where to start. So maybe what you can do is tell us a little bit to get us interested and understand a little bit about your background. So how'd you get started in the first place?
Yeah. Born and raised in Memphis. When I went to school, as far as college in North Carolina, particularly in Chapel Hill, a friend of mine told me, hey, when you're doing your studies, Philip, you ought to look into politics and economics.
Okay.
Like, why? And he was like, well, if you understand how politics and economics work in tandem, you understand how a country works. And if you're able to do that and add on business and investments, you better understand how the world works. So as a young 19, 20-year-old, I thought that was sound advice. And that's what I did. I majored in political science and economics. I wanted to get involved in business. So the first thing I did after graduating from college is I went to Wall Street. And I worked there for a couple of years, basically researching many publicly traded businesses across 10 different industries. And out of that research, coming up with investment ideas for investors on where they should buy and sell when it comes to stocks and bonds.
Right.
Which was a great experience for me understanding how business and investment work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping up with that thesis beforehand. Then the Great Recession hit. And that was a time for me as a young 23, 24-year-old that could be a bit scary in a big city like New York City. And unfortunately, I got laid off during that time. And I had to quickly figure out what was I going to do next as far as next steps. I looked into entrepreneurship, looked into real estate, and then ultimately came back home with an opportunity to work at a pretty big company. You might have heard of it, called FedEx. And so I started out there working in their corporate social responsibility place, or team, I should say. So everything regarding like their programs with disaster relief, education, environmental sustainability. Like I was leading a huge project nationwide when it came to the environment. Later transitioned into supporting 3 like senior marketing executives within FedEx, one of which is currently serving as the CEO of FedEx. What I basically served as like their internal communicator, which is basically like their right-hand person on anything communications related, emails, videos, town halls, that sort of thing, both for their teams internally and worldwide. At that point, Mick, I was like, okay, this this is pretty good. I'm feeling pretty comfortable here, learning a lot, but I feel like I need to take the next step here. And that involved me going back to school. So I went to business school, went from Memphis back up north, but this time to Boston, went to Harvard Business School. And from there, I got my MBA. And I think just to kind of make things a little short, and I can delve into different things later on if you like. After business school, I basically founded a business I wanted to buy, bought it, was based in cemetery services management, ran that for 4 years, went through some tough times during the pandemic. And at that point, I had to basically make the tough decision to shut that down. But what it led me to come to nowadays was see a great opportunity that I could leverage all that business experience, both book smart and actually like practical, like in like running a 7-figure business myself, to say, hey, how can I help other small, medium-sized businesses nationwide really adopt and master this new thing that people are now coming across called AI?
Got it. Understood. And just by the by, Memphis is a great town. So I tell everybody, go to Memphis. It's like unbelievable. If you like music, you're going to love Memphis. There's all kinds of great stuff there. So interesting to know, and a really interesting background. Seemed very mature for a younger person, was 19, 20, 22 or so. That's got a lot of wisdom. So what would you say are some of the changes that you've seen in business and in your career in the time that you were speaking of?
Well, I think the big thing that people talk about now is, yes, the internet, when it first came out, was a big thing. Yes, social media, that was a big thing that we're still trying to figure out now. But this whole thing about artificial intelligence, I think that this is going to be something that a lot of people are saying is going to be completely novel from what we've seen before or even prepare for.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be in an environment where it seems like everyone has a voice, right? Everyone has a platform if they want, and that sort. And you have people that are all individualized across all these different platforms and that sort. Which makes it tougher to get a hold of people in their attention spans because they're so short now.
That's right.
I can compete with the next TikTok video. I just scroll down, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to artificial intelligence, what's really mind-boggling about that is this is a whole new way for us to get work done and to get it done more effectively. Because when I thought about business, when I was running my own business, if I wanted to get more work done, I had to hire another person or two or three. Right.
Right. Sure.
And especially the business I was working in there was more blue collar. Like we were literally like digging graves. So you couldn't necessarily ask Chat GPT to dig a 6x6 grave, 6-foot deep grave. You'd probably be disappointed.
Yeah.
However, though, every business has functionality to it that can be leveraged or even replaced by AI. Your content creation, your marketing, your sales, your back office, finance, operations, right? These are a number of different things that we're just on like the first inning of understanding how AI can actually help. But the challenge that comes with that is how do you get people that are so immersed in one way of doing business,
right,
to know of this train that's coming in front of them? And it says, hey, you didn't need to know how to hook yourself onto that train and just go with it or risk getting run over by it.
Okay.
And that's really, I think, the biggest challenge, helping business owners understand the opportunity in front of them and help them take advantage of it and not get replaced by it.
Yeah, there's an expression I've heard that if the horse is going in one direction, get on the horse and just ride it out, because it does remind me of what you're just suggesting about AI. This is a hot topic and something that people need to be aware of, or they're going to get run over, right? So get out of the way or get on board. Could you just talk about some of the things that, now this is a hot topic, AI, but could apply to business owners? What should they be doing and what should they be thinking about now in order to apply? Because your thesis is, how does the small business compete using AI?
Yeah, so I think the big thing that comes off top of my neck is, one, understand that AI can be an opportunity for you. It's only a threat if you don't take advantage of it. If you don't take the opportunity to learn from it and see how you can apply it in your own business. I think I've come across a number of business owners that want to stick their heads in the sand like an ostrich and say, AI doesn't exist. AI doesn't exist. I'm just gonna keep doing things the way I did it 40 years ago, right? But that's kind of the same thing of any new technology. They call it creative destruction. Is like, as one new technology comes into play, it makes one previous one more obsolete, and the people that keep on with that technology obsolete with it. Right. And so I think when it comes to that is understanding, okay, first off, this is a perfect opportunity for you to take a step back and just map out how your business is as a business owner or entrepreneur as a whole. And it might be helpful from a function standpoint. What is the state of your marketing, your sales, your operations, your finance? Because I think AI is something you can quickly get overwhelmed. Like, the tools are numerous. They're constantly evolving, like literally on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis.
Yes.
Right. You got version 4.0 here, and the next month is version 8.0. Right. Yeah. But let's just take it in bite-sized chunks. Okay. Take a look at where your business is and ask yourself, okay, from a function by function standpoint, are there opportunities for me to better do what I'm currently doing with an AI tool or strategy? And if you just focus on that, just say like, hey, let's focus on marketing and say, is there a better way for me to get content produced, distributed, and connecting with the people you're looking to connect with, whether prospects or clients, and that sort of thing, better than I'm currently doing? And if so, take the chance to experiment. Try a tool out. It may work, it may not. That's the whole part about experimentation. But if you look towards like adapting and testing things out, you might find something that helps. And then find somebody within your team, if not you, that can learn what that tool is or that strategy and be that person that gets like well-versed or educated in that space. And if you do that as like not just as a fad, but this is going to be part of my ongoing thing. I'm going to focus on marketing, and then next time I'm going to look at sales, I'm going to look at finance, look at operations, just repeat that same process. You'll get yourself to a point where a year from now, you'll be in a much more adapting place of what AI has to offer. That can significantly separate yourself from your competition that's simply just trying to understand what ChatGPT is.
Right. It's an interesting phrase or expression I've heard. If there was a time of Henry Ford and people asked what they actually wanted at the time, what would they ask for? They would ask for faster horses.
Exactly.
Right? And what Ford was able to do is to say, well, I'm just going to disrupt the whole transportation industry. I'm going to build cars. And it's not necessarily what people are asking for, but he had enough vision to see what actually people wanted and needed, but they didn't exactly know what they wanted or needed.
Right. It's similar to like Apple, right? When the iPhone came out in 2008, we were having like flip phones. Yeah. And it's just like Steve Jobs probably didn't survey the audience and say, hey, how do you want a better flip phone? It was more like, I want to come up with something that combines your phone, an internet browser, and a music player. So instead of 3 different devices, you now have it all in one. But if you would ask the audience, they probably would never have thought of that. So sometimes that was like our Henry Ford moment as well. Just say, hey, we got to come up with something that people haven't foreseen and just let them respond to it. And I think that's very similar with AI.
Yeah, that's something I notice about Apple products in general, too. They seem to anticipate what we want or we need, even if we don't know it. It's part of their design strategy. They have designed user-friendly objects. And I say, go back in the day, it was even difficult for us to have a camera in the first place, right? Now we got cameras everywhere because people are carrying them around with them. So I've seen the development of cameras. It was hard to get, not that many around, fairly expensive. And then all of a sudden, we've just combined all of these instruments into one. Could you talk about what your expertise is and what it is that you do? What's the process like if someone would work with you, and what you're suggesting about a small business using AI more effectively?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's helpful is you can go across this journey two different ways. You can start from a strategy and then build your way down to tactics, or go from tactics and go your way up to strategy. I tend to focus more on the former, to say, hey, when I work with business owners and entrepreneurs, when it comes to, dream business makeovers, like what is that? Basically,
Mm,
it's focusing on what I like to call the core for a dream business growth. And what that means, Vic, is that oftentimes as business owners, we think of the first two that I talk about, as far as what you want to grow. You want to grow your sales, you want to grow your profits. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
The other two that come off is more of taking gross sales, grow profits, but more of a long-term basis. The gross sales and grow profits more of a short-term, let me do this in this fiscal year or
Okay.
next year, compared to the previous year, that type of focus. More long-term is kind of similar. The other two grows are grow via mergers and acquisitions
Mm,
and grow exit value. And what I like to do with business owners is basically just have a sit down and say, hey, on this quadrant, grow sales, grow profits, grow it by M&A, grow exit value. Which one of these four is most important to you now?
mm,
And then once we make progress on that, which one is the next one you want to work on next? And so once we get a sense of what that business owner entrepreneur wants to do, then we start to dig into it more of a consultative standpoint from my end to know more about the business, where are they at currently, where are they trying to grow at, and figure out what's in the way. What obstacles can we target or attack or get rid of? And how can we enhance that business's skill set or opportunities? And
mm.
that's where once we dig deeper on that, then we start to say, okay, what's available to you currently, right? And then from there, think about what can we add to the plate here that can help enhance that. And oftentimes now, this is where AI can come into play, because maybe it might be something where you say, hey, Philip, I want to grow sales. I just don't have the bandwidth. I just don't have the sales force. Okay, well, there's one option. We can see if we can partner with a company that has that sales force that we can work together with. You can hire people and
Right.
basically hope and pray that they work out.
Yeah. Right.
Or another option could be, could we look at an AI tool that could essentially be part of your sales force? And what I mean by that, Mick, not to scare anybody here, but come across tools that basically you can plug in numbers for people for AI to call. And
Mm,
they will call, the AI tool will call not just one person, but I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands of people, and have dynamic conversations because you help program it about your business, about your product, about your service, about what the whole situation is in mind,
okay.
and basically walk through a sales conversation that can lead into sales for your company, but you didn't have to do it. And mind you, those hundreds of thousands of conversations,
Yeah.
they're happening together at the same time.
Yeah.
If you had 100 people on your list to say, Mick, how long would it take you to have a 20, 30-minute conversation with each one of those people?
It's true.
As opposed to, this can get this done in a matter of an hour or so. So I think that's where I come about it. It's just maybe more of a top down, where are you trying to grow
Okay.
into? And the AI is being used as a tool, as part of a strategy to help them get to where they're coming from to where they want to be.
And it's interesting. As much as I love people and manage people is fun, but AI doesn't get sick, doesn't go on vacation. You don't have to pay benefits. So there are some advantages with the materials and tools that are out there.
Listen, as somebody who has been a business owner that has been responsible for recruiting people,
Yeah.
hiring people,
Yep.
training people, and even having to lay off or even fire people. I resonate a lot with that, Mick, because at the end of the day, we are all human, and what comes with us being human is that, depending on the person, you're right. Some days we get sick.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't feel like coming to work. Sometimes we might give 50% effort versus 100%. And sometimes we just think about quiet quitting.
Yes.
Right. And like you said, Nick, the one thing about AI is, in that example I shared with you before, none of that is part of their prerogative. Y'all don't have to worry about anyone calling in sick last minute, anyone putting in halfway effort. Like, this is something that's going to change a lot. I've definitely seen it. And I think a lot of businesses have already taken on it, especially bigger businesses. And we're just trying to help small businesses see what's going on and see how they can apply it for their benefit.
And that's really key, because that's really the sweet spot. Like, how does a small business now for the first time be able to compete with, like, say, those big companies that everybody's heard of, FedEx and all of those folks, right? And all those companies on Wall Street, how you've kind of got that level playing field. That's really, really insightful. I said this at the beginning, like, you have a lot of wisdom, even as a younger person. So you're very mature for a person who was 19 and 20 and 21 to really set you on this course that really has been successful. And I really appreciate all of those things that you shared. If a person wanted to reach out to you now that they know a little bit about your background and what you're able to do, what would you recommend them getting hold of you, and how?
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind. Definitely, I recommend for business owners that want to read my book. It's available on Amazon. You can look
Good.
it up either by my name, as far as the author, Philip Blackett, or also the book title, "The Unfair Advantage: How Small Business Owners Can Use Artificial Intelligence to Grow Sales, Outsmart the Competition, and Build Their Dream Businesses Without Breaking the Bank." I know that's a mouthful, so why don't you just put my name in the Amazon, you'll find it. But that's one way. Or you can go on my website, dreambusinessmakeover.com.
And yeah, it's a long title, but it really is helpful because it's really focused, and it's a great marketing tool because you're going to center in on exactly those people who need assistance and need help.
Absolutely.
Phil, thank you so much for taking out some time with us today and sharing your wisdom and insights, and really to jump on that AI bandwagon, because you got to get on there. The horse and the train are leaving the station. I really agree with you. Got to get on it. So thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mick. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Philip. If you like the program and you like the things that you're hearing, hopefully that you'll also be supporting publishers, Burning America and On Track, Ian Hunter, for supporting the program. But if you like the program, keep those cards and letters coming in the form of liking, subscribing, sharing, and positively reviewing, especially on Apple Podcasts. That helps things coming your way. Until next time, hope you enjoy this program. Another great guest coming up. Deus Volt.